Welcome back to a new era, guys. Anuj here, and in today's video, we're gonna talk about the Sony FE 85mm 1.8 aperture lens. And now this lens is known for being amazing for portrait photography and the like, but I'm telling you right now, it's a creative beast. And let me show you why. If you guys enjoyed that sequence, make sure to hit the like button, and hopefully you could see some of the filmmaking creativity that this lens can bring for you. Speaking of which, if you're into filmmaking and creativity, make sure to subscribe. I'd love to have you as a part of the journey. So the first thing we're going to talk about when it comes to this lens is the ergonomics. That's just a fancy word for how it feels. And basically, it's a metal build, or primarily metal, so it feels really professional, it feels really good. But despite it being pretty much metal, it's actually very light. It comes in at around 0.65 pounds, something around there. I'm pretty sure it's exactly 0.65 pounds, but it's lightweight and it's small, so it can go with you anywhere, and that's super helpful with, you know, being a travel photographer or something of that nature. And something else that I really like about this lens that also makes it just feel a lot better is the fact that, I don't know if you can see it, it has an autofocus / manual focus switch right here. And basically you don't have to go in your camera settings and switch your lens to auto or manual. You just flip the switch and bang, it's there, which is amazing for me, especially because I like to switch a lot between manual focus and autofocus. I think every lens should have this switch. It's ridiculously useful. I don't know why it's not on a lot of lenses. But on top of just the manual autofocus switch, let me take this lens hood off real quick, is the zoom, no, sorry, not the zoom ring, the focus ring, So this focus ring, no, it's definitely, I'm pretty sure this focus ring is made of metal. It has to be, it feels like metal. Okay, anyway, I'm pretty sure it's metal, and it's really smooth. So when you're doing your focus pulling or just general manual focus, this comes in so handy because it's so smooth and it has a lot of grip. And because it has a lot of grip, you can be way more accurate with whatever you're doing in the frame of your subject. And last but not least, when it comes to ergonomics, is the fact that this thing is weather sealed. In that sequence I just showed you in the beginning, I was at like this cliffside beach area, so there's a lot of sand. Essentially, there's a lot of dust everywhere. And I came back, and this thing is still super clean on the inside and the outside. So I love it a lot. That helps a lot because I don't have to, you know, take extreme care, which you should anyway, take extreme care of this lens. By the way, if you're interested or looking into this lens, I'll leave a link for it in the description below. So yeah, if you go through there, that'd be awesome. That'd help me out. But now let's talk about what you're probably really here for, which is the focal length and the aperture of this lens. So for those of you who don't know, this is a prime lens at 85mm. So what that means is that this lens can only shoot at a focal length of 85mm. It can't go any wider, it can't go any narrower. It can't go any narrower unless you have, like for example on my Sony a7S3, we have a 35mm crop, so that just pushes this in a lot closer. But honestly, that's not really that useful sometimes when it comes to having something already so narrow in terms of like field of view. But yeah, because this is an 85mm lens, which means it has a narrow field of view, this lens is really good for portrait photography as well as product photography. But what I believe that makes this lens pretty much phenomenal is the fact that you could also use this really creatively for video portraits or even just cool creative shots in your filming, just because you're able to really isolate particular subjects or items or whatever it is in your frame that you're focusing on. On top of all of that, you have an aperture that goes down to f1.8. So basically what that means is that you can have really amazing bokeh. I'm just kidding, not bokeh, bokeh. You have a lot of amazing bokeh and blur that you can play with in your shots. You can really craft a shot based on what you're isolating in the frame, and then basically amplify the attraction of that composition by deciding how much bokeh or blur you want in that. And that's what that f1.8 is going to allow you, because it gets into that really shallow depth of field and it really just makes everything pop. So hopefully you can tell by now there's a lot of creative benefits just because of what this thing can do, but there is a con, or I mean, it's not really a con, but it's more of like a limitation. Because this is a prime lens and it's an 85mm lens, you can't use it for everything. For example, I shot that whole B-roll sequence in the beginning here with this lens, but it was very limiting and I couldn't get the full vision if I were to really take on a whole filming perspective on that sequence I shot for you guys in the intro. I couldn't make it as dynamic. However, that's not what this lens is built for. This lens is really built for particular circumstances. So when you're able to plan and really see what you're trying to go for with this lens, or just play with the creative capabilities of this lens, that's when this thing will shine. This thing will be phenomenal for you. Though I will say, although it does have the 1.8 aperture and it is 85mm, I really don't like the fact that you can't get super close to your subject, right? For example, the Tamron can get around 5 to 6 centimeters in terms of distance away from your subject, but the 85, you have to be pretty far away, probably about like, I don't know, what is this, like 15 inches or something, somewhere around here, and you can't really get close enough to get a lot of particular details that I would want in my frames or subjects. For me, that's a little bit of a downfall, but other than that, it still performs insanely well, like I said, for planned circumstances or extended creativity. So something else that this lens does really well is autofocus, and you'll see that right now on the screen. You can see it pretty sharply catching the lens and the mic really fast. And mind you, this is in a darker situation and it's not even on a human subject, so it's not using its eye autofocus to really dial in on the human subject. So when it comes to a person, this will be even faster. So now let's talk about the price point for this lens. So this lens comes in at around $600, which is pretty budget when it comes to an 85mm, especially when you're looking for quality. And when this lens is used effectively, when you understand why you need this lens and how you're going to use it, I think this lens gives way more value than how much it costs. Its counterparts, which are the Sony 85mm 1.4 G Master lens, as well as the Zeiss Batis 85mm 1.4 aperture lens, come in at around $500 to $1,200 more than this lens, which is absolutely ridiculous. And this lens is pretty much just as sharp as those lenses, even though it can't create as much of an isolation between the background and the subject when it comes to the blur and the bokeh. But that's so insignificant, like the difference is so insignificant unless you're a professional photographer or someone that specializes in a particular type of photography that requires that deep needle of precision when it comes to isolating the subject. If you made it this far into the video, I hope you can actually see the potential for creativity that this lens can bring you. I'll leave a video right here for you guys to check out if you want to see how you can capture really cool film sequences, as well as other pieces of camera gear that I would team this lens up with to really bring your vision to life in a really cool and unique way. And definitely make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see cool filmmaking content. And see you guys next Wednesday. I'm really excited for that one too, because spoiler alert, we got some new gear. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Snap to end the video.